There's something about the way life unfolds in America that keeps you guessing, isn't there? One minute, you're cruising down a sunlit stretch of Highway 66, windows down, Springsteen blasting through the speakers, and the next, you're squinting at a shadow moving 20 feet off the road, wondering if it's a deer or something that doesn't belong in the daylight. It's that heartbeat skipping moment when the ordinary twists into something you can't quite name, and suddenly, the world feels a little bigger, a little wilder than it did 5 seconds ago. That's the truth these creepy tales whisper to us. Danger doesn't wait for a stormy night or a haunted house. It's right there, stitched into the fabric of the everyday, hiding in the places we swear we know by heart. But here's the thing. Here's the spark that turns the fear into something worth holding on to. That same unpredictability is what makes life an adventure. It's not about locking the doors tighter or staying inside forever. It's about stepping into the chaos with your chin up, ready to meet whatever's waiting. Let me take you there, deep into what this means, and why it's not just a warning. It's a call to live louder. Picture yourself at 22, fresh out of college, maybe in a small town like Asheville, North Carolina, where the Blue Ridge Mountains loom like gentle giants 10 miles out your window. You're itching to break free, so you grab a backpack, a beat-up tent, and a buddy who's always up for anything. You drive 50 miles into the wilderness, tires crunching over gravel until the road just stops. You're out there, setting up camp by a creek, the air thick with pine and that crisp bite of fall. The fire's crackling, you're roasting marshmallows, and the stars are so bright you swear you could reach up and grab one. It's perfect, until it's not. Somewhere beyond the glow of your campfire, maybe 30 feet into the trees, you hear it. A rustle that's not the wind, a snap that's not a squirrel. Your buddy laughs it off, says it's nothing, but your stomach flips. You shine a flashlight into the dark, and for a split second you catch a glint. Eyes? A branch? You'll never know. That's the moment it hits you. This isn't just a camping trip anymore. It's something else, something alive and unscripted, and you're smack in the middle of it. That's the raw edge of everyday danger, the way it sneaks into the things we love, the routines we cling to. It's not always a Hollywood villain with a chainsaw. Sometimes it's quieter, subtler, but no less real. Maybe it's not a forest 50 miles from nowhere, but a late-night stop at a gas station off I-80 in Nebraska, 200 miles from the nearest city you'd call home. You're pumping gas, the neon sign buzzing overhead, and a guy in a hoodie lingers by the ice machine, watching you just a little too long. Or it's a Saturday morning in your suburban cul-de-sac in Ohio, kids biking 100 feet down the street, and a van you've never seen before parks across from your house, idling for 20 minutes before it pulls away. These aren't jump scares. They're the slow burn of what if, the kind of thing that makes your pulse quicken and your mind race. And yeah, it's unsettling. It's supposed to be. But here's where the shift happens. Instead of letting that unease chain you to the couch, what if you saw it as the starting line of an adventure? Because that's what it is. Life's way of handing you a dare. Think about it. Every time you've dodged a close call, every time you felt that prickle on your neck and kept going anyway, you've won something. Not a trophy, not a medal, but a story. A piece of yourself you didn't know was there. I'm talking about the time you were 19, biking 5 miles through a sketchy part of Portland at dusk, and a car slowed down behind you, headlights glaring in your mirrors. Your legs burned, your heart hammered, but you pedaled harder, weaving through alleys until you hit a crowded street and the car peeled off. You didn't just make it home. You carved out a memory, a quiet victory that still hums in your chest years later. Or maybe it was subtler, like that gut call at 35 when you turned down a job offer in a shiny Denver high-rise because something about the interviewer's smile didn't sit right. And 6 months later, you heard the company tanked in a scandal. These aren't accidents. They're proof that danger's shadow doesn't just threaten, it sharpens you. Let's stretch this out further because it's not just about surviving, it's about thriving in the thick of it. Imagine you're 28, living in a walk-up in Brooklyn, the kind with creaky stairs and a bodega 50 feet from your door. You're heading out for a late-night sandwich, the city buzzing 10 miles wide around you, When you spot a guy pacing the sidewalk, muttering into a phone. He locks eyes with you, and for 10 seconds, the air feels heavy, too heavy. You could duck back inside, call it a night, but instead you square your shoulders, nod like you own the block, and keep walking. Nothing happy. He turns away, you grab your sandwich, and the night rolls on. But that moment, it's yours. It's a tiny rebellion against the idea that danger gets to call the shots. It's you saying, I'm here, and I'm not backing down. That's the adventure, not the sandwich, not the walk, but the choice to live through the tension instead of around it. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds exhausting. Why sign up for that? And yeah, if you're picturing every day as a high-stakes showdown, it would be. But it's not about chasing danger. It's about meeting it when it shows up, which it will, because that's life in a country as big and messy as ours. From the sprawling deserts of Arizona to the dense woods of Maine, America's got 3,000 miles of space where anything can happen. You can't predict it, can't control it, but you can choose how you stand in it. And that choice, it's electric. It's the difference between a 40-year-old in a Seattle office who clocks out at 5 p.m. sharp, safe and sound, and the one who takes a detour through a rainy park 2 miles from home, umbrella snapping in the wind, just to feel the world breathe. One's a life, the other's an adventure. Let's paint this with a broader brush, because it's not just about you, it's about us. Think of the stories we tell, the ones that stick. You're at a bar in Austin, 30 years old, swapping tales with a stranger over a cold IPA. They lean in, eyes wide, recounting how they broke down 100 miles from Vegas, midnight on a desert road, and a trucker with no name pulled over to help. No catch, just a jump start and a wave goodbye. You counter with your own. That time at 24, when you got lost hiking 15 miles into the Cascades, phone dead, and found your way back by following a river you'd never seen before. These aren't tragedies. They're triumphs, born from the edge of danger. They're the threads that tie us together, coast to coast, because every American's got one, whether it's from a city alley or a country lane. And when you share them, something shifts. You're not just a face in the crowd anymore. You're a storyteller, a survivor, a spark. So how do you lean into this? How do you take the lurking shadows and turn them into fuel? Start small, because adventure doesn't need a plane ticket or a mountain. Say you're 18, crashing at a friend's place in Tampa, and you decide to explore a Pier 3 miles down the coast at sunset. The waves crash, the air's salty, and yeah, there's a dude fishing 50 feet out who keeps staring, but you keep going. You snap a pic, feel the breeze, and head back with a story no one else has that day. Or you're 45, in a Minneapolis suburb, and instead of the usual grocery run 2 miles away, you bike a new route, past a creepy old barn 500 feet off the road that locals swear is haunted. Nothing happens, but your heart's pumping and you've got a grin you can't shake. These are tiny dares, little bets you make with yourself, and they stack up. They build a life that's not just safe, and if you want to go bigger, because why not, make it a thing. Gather your crew, whether you're 22 in a college town or 50 in a quiet cul-de-sac, and throw a close calls night. Picture it, a backyard in Texas, string lights swaying 10 feet overhead, a cooler stocked with sodas and beers, and everyone's got 5 minutes to spill their wildest brush with the everyday unexpected. Your buddy talks about a near miss with a tornado 30 miles from Tulsa. Your sister-in-law tops it with a sketchy Uber ride in Chicago that ended with her jumping out at a red light 5 miles from home. You laugh, you gasp, you feel that rush, and suddenly, danger's not the enemy. It's the guest that makes the party unforgettable. It's the reason you're all there, connected, alive, swapping pieces of yourselves under a wide open sky. But let's dig deeper, because this isn't just about the thrill, it's about what it leaves behind. Every time you face the unknown, every time you walk through that flicker of fear, you grow. Maybe you're 33, jogging 4 miles through a park in St. Louis at dawn, and a guy on a bench 20 feet away starts yelling nonsense. You don't bolt. You slow down, assess, keep moving, and make it home with a clearer head than you left with. That's not just a run. It's a lesson in who you are. Or you're 50, driving 80 miles through a snowstorm in Montana to visit family, Wipers slapping, visibility down to 100 feet, and you pull it off, calm, steady, alive. These moments don't just pass, they carve you. They etch lines of resilience into your bones, lines you can trace back to when you're 70, sitting on a porch in Georgia, telling your grandkids how you once stared down a world that dared you to blink. And yeah, it's messy. It's not all heroics and high fives. Sometimes it's 2 a.m. in a Denver apartment, 25 years old, and a noise teat outside your window, a raccoon, a branch, a what? Keeps you up, heart thudding until dawn proves it's nothing. Sometimes it's a flat tire 40 miles from Flagstaff, 38 and sweating, with no cell signal and a semi roaring by every 10 minutes. It's not pretty, it's not fun, but it's yours. It's the grit that turns a scare into a story, the kind you'll laugh about later over a burger at a diner 5 miles from where it happened. Because that's the secret. Danger doesn't own you, it hands you the pen. You write what comes next. Let's zoom out, because this is bigger than one night or one choice. It's about how you see the whole damn thing. Life, America, all 3.8 million square miles of it. You're part of a country where a kid in Miami can surf 10 feet from a storm swell. A mom in Kansas can chase a sunset 50 miles across the plains. And a retiree in Oregon can fish a river 20 miles from the nearest road. And every one of them's got a tale where the ordinary went sideways. It's in our blood, this dance with the unexpected. From the pioneers who crossed 2,000 miles of wild to the truckers hauling through blizzards on I-90, we've never been a people who play it safe. And you're in that lineage. Whether you're 18 dreaming of the open road or 50 mapping your next chapter, danger's not the end, it's the beginning. So here's the invitation. Embrace it. Not recklessly, not blindly, but bravely. Next time you're 3 miles from home and the sky darkens, don't just hurry back. Pause, breathe it in, feel the weight of it. Next time you're 30 feet from a stranger who's a little too quiet, don't just shrink, stand tall, own your space, let them wonder who you are. Start a ritual. Every month, pick one thing that scares you just enough. A 10-mile solo drive, a midnight walk 500 feet from your door, and do it. Not to prove anything to anyone else, but to prove it to yourself. Because every step into that shadow, every heartbeat you claim back from the what-ifs builds something unshakable. It's not about the danger. It's about the adventure it unlocks, the you it reveals. And when it's over, when you're 45, sipping coffee in a diner 5 miles from where you grew up, or 25, crashing on a couch in LA after a night that could have gone anywhere, you'll look back and see it. Not the fear, not the close calls, but the fire they lit. The way they turned a Wednesday into a story, a moment into a memory, a life into something worth shouting about. That's the takeaway, the core of it all. Danger lurks, sure, but it's the spark that makes the everyday epic. So go live it. Wild, messy, and all yours. There's a moment, you felt it, haven't you? When the air shifts just a little and something inside you stirs. It's not loud, not a siren blaring through the night, but a quiet nudge, a whisper that prickles the back of your neck. Maybe you're 23, strolling 5 miles through a bustling Seattle park at dusk, the Space Needle glinting 10 miles off in the distance, and a guy on a bench 20 feet away locks eyes with you. Too long, too still. Or you're 38, sipping coffee in a diner 50 miles outside Memphis, the Mississippi River winding unseen beyond the horizon, and a stranger at the counter keeps glancing your way, his smile sharp in a way that doesn't match the lazy hum of the jukebox. It's that flicker, that gut twist, telling you something's off. These creepy tales we've been spinning, they're full of those moments where the world tilts and a voice inside says, run. But here's the deeper truth, the one that sinks into your bones and lifts you up. That voice isn't just a warning. It's your compass, your North Star, your quiet strength. Trusting it isn't about fear. It's about honoring the part of you that's always known the way. Let me take you through this, slow and steady, into why that inner pull matters, how it shapes you, and why it's the most American kind of courage there is. Imagine you're 19, fresh off a high school summer, crashing at a friend's place 30 miles outside Austin. The Texas heat still clinging to the night, cicadas buzzing 100 feet beyond the porch, and you're laughing over a cheap beer when a pickup truck rumbles down the road, slow, too slow. It stops 50 feet from the house, headlights dimming, and no one gets out. Your buddy shrugs, says it's probably nothing, but your stomach knots up like you've swallowed a stone. You don't say it out loud, too young, too unsure, but you feel it, a tug, sharp and insistent, telling you to move, to check the locks, to do something. You don't. The truck idles for 10 minutes, then peels off into the dark, leaving you with a racing heart and a question you can't shake. What if I'd listened? That's where it starts, that first brush with your gut's quiet power. It's not a shout, it's a murmur, soft as a breeze rustling through the pines 20 miles up in the Rockies, but it's there, waiting for you to hear it. Fast forward a few years. You're 27, living in a cramped apartment 3 miles from downtown Chicago, the L train rattling past every 15 minutes. You're scrolling X late one night, half asleep, when a DM slides in. Some guy you don't know, offering a gig that sounds too good. Easy cash, flexible hours, meet him tomorrow at a spot 10 miles south of the loop. The message glows on your screen, and for a second you're tempted. Bills are piling up, rent's due in a week. But then it hits, a shiver, a clench in your chest, a whisper that says, don't. You hesitate, fingers hovering over the keyboard, and in that pause you see it, a typo in his handle, a vibe that's just off. You close the app, block him, and the next day you hear about a scam bust 12 miles from your place, right where he wanted to meet. That's not luck. That's your gut, stepping in like an old friend who's got your back when the lights go dim. It's funny, isn't it? How we doubt that voice at first. Growing up American, we're taught to push through, to logic our way out of everything. Trust the facts, not the feels. You're 16, biking 2 miles home from a friend's house in a sleepy Oregon suburb, the Willamette River glinting 5 miles west, and a car trails you, close, maybe 30 feet back. Your palms sweat, your legs pump, but your brain argues, it's fine, it's nothing, don't overreact. We're wired to second guess, to shrug off the hunch because we don't want to look paranoid, silly, weak. But those creepy tales, the ones where a kid dials 911 from a stranger's kitchen 10 miles from safety, or a woman bolts from a party 15 miles outside Philly when the crowd turns weird, they don't care about polite hesitation. They scream what we forget. Your gut's not wrong just because it's quiet. It's a compass forged in a million years of survival, and it's never stopped pointing true. Let's stretch this out, because it's not just about dodging danger. It's about who you become when you listen. Picture yourself at 32, driving 80 miles through the Appalachians, the Blue Ridge Parkway winding like a ribbon 50 feet below the ridgeline. Fog rolls in, thick as soup, cutting visibility to 20 feet, and your GPS dies, battery drained, no signal. You're alone, the road's a ghost, and then you hear it. Gravel crunching 100 feet behind you, slow and deliberate. A car? A truck? Your mind spins. Keep going, pull over, speed up. But your gut cuts through the noise. Turn off here. You spot a side road 10 feet ahead, barely a path, and you take it. Tires skidding, heart pounding. The crunching fades. The fog lifts 5 miles later. And you're safe, sipping gas station coffee 30 miles from nowhere, grinning at the wheel. That's not just a drive. That's a baptism. You didn't just escape, you trusted yourself. And that trust rewrote the story. It's a quiet kind of power, isn't it? Not the loud, chest-thumping kind we see in movies, but the kind that simmers, steady and sure. You're 25 at a bar 5 miles from your Nashville apartment, the neon lights flickering 50 feet above Broadway. A guy slides onto the stool next to you, all charm and too many questions. Where you live, who you're with, what's your weekend like? Your friends are laughing, 10 feet oblivious, but your gut's buzzing. A low hum that says, wrap this up. You fake a call, slip out, and later hear he stuck around fishing for info from anyone who'd bite. That's not cowardice, that's command. It's you steering the ship when the waters get choppy, and every time you do it, that compass gets sharper, brighter, more yours. But it's not always dramatic, and that's the beauty of it. Sometimes it's small, soft, a whisper you barely notice until it's gone. You're 40, walking your dog 2 miles through a park in Denver, the Rockies looming 30 miles west like a postcard. A woman approaches, 50 feet, 20 feet, asking for directions, her voice shaky, her eyes darting. She's close now, 10 feet, and your pup stiffens, growling low. Your gut flares, not loud, just a nudge. Step back. You do, politely pointing her to a ranger station 500 feet east, and she nods, hurries off. Nothing happens, no chase, no scream, but you feel it, a ripple of relief, a thank you to that inner voice that saw what your eyes missed. It's not always life or death. Sometimes it's just life, and that's enough. Let's go deeper, because this isn't just about you, it's about where you're from. America's a big, sprawling place. It's 3,000 miles of dreams and dust, and trusting your guts baked into it. Think of the pioneers who crossed 2,000 miles of plains, feeling the wind shift 50 miles from water, knowing to dig in before the storm hit. Or the truckers hauling 500 miles through Nevada deserts, sensing a rig's wobble 20 miles from a town and pulling over just in time. It's in our songs, Dylan's raspy warnings, Cash's lonesome truths. It's in our bones. You're 18, backpacking 15 miles into Yosemite, Half Dome towering 5 miles north, and a rustle 30 feet off the trail stops you cold, bare hiker wind, and you wait, listen, move when it's right. That's not just instinct. That's heritage. A thread tying you to every soul who stared down the wild and said, I've got this. And it grows with you, doesn't it? At 21, you're in a dive bar 10 miles from Miami Beach, the ocean roaring 5 miles east, and a date's pushing you to head to his place. Nice guy maybe, but your gut's screaming, not tonight. You bail, catch an Uber, and sleep easy. At 35, you're in a boardroom 20 miles from downtown Lele, the Hollywood sign glinting 10 miles north, and a deal's on the table. Big money, big promises. But that same voice, walk away. You do, and the firm flops a year later. At 50, you're hiking 40 miles into the Smokies, Tennessee air thick with mist, and a trail splits. Left feels wrong, right feels sure, and you take it, finding a vista 2 miles on that takes your breath away. It's not magic, it's you, learning to hear yourself louder each time, turning that whisper into a roar. So how do you honor it? How do you make this compass yours? Start where you stand. You're 22 in a college town like Ann Arbor, 5 miles from the big house, and a party's raging 500 feet from your dorm. The vibe's off, too loud, too loose, and your gut says, bounce. Don't argue, grab your coat, head home, and wake up proud. Or you're 45 in a quiet suburb 10 miles from Raleigh, and a neighbor's invite to a quick chat 50 feet down the street. Trust it, skip it, and sip tea on your porch instead. Make it real. Start a gut check jar. Every time you listen and it pays off, toss in a note. A job you dodged 20 miles away that tanked. A date 5 miles out you skipped that ghosted. Watch it fill. A trophy case of your own wisdom. Take it further, because this is yours to shape. You're 30 in a Portland coffee shop 3 miles from the Willamette. Rain streaking the windows 50 feet above the street. A stranger pitches a can't-miss stock 10 miles from Wall Street's echo, and your gut clenches. Say no, walk away, and invest in yourself instead. Or host a compass night with your crew. Backyard, 10 miles from Atlanta's sprawl, fire pit glowing 20 feet from the deck. Everyone shares a time they trusted their gut, your buddy's tale of a near miss, 50 miles up I-85, your cousin's dodge of a scam 5 miles from home. It's not just stories, it's a pact, a promise to keep listening, to keep believing. And when it's hard, because it will be, lean in. You're 28, driving 60 miles through a Texas storm, visibility 20 feet, and a car tailgates 50 feet back, too close, too fast. Your brain says they're fine, but your gut says, pull off. You do, heart thumping, and they speed by, gone in the rain. Doubt creeps in. Did I overreact? But don't let it win. That's the fight, trusting when it's messy, when it's unclear, when the world's shouting over it. You're 42 at a concert 15 miles from Philly, the crowd surging 10 feet from the stage, and a shove feels wrong. Your gut flares, you slip out, and a brawl erupts where you stood. It's not weakness, it's wisdom, raw and real. Because here's the core, the soul of it. Your gut's not just a shield, it's a light. It's 2 a.m., you're 25, alone in a cabin 40 miles from Asheville, wind howling 50 feet above the ridge, and a knock echoes, soft, strange. Your gut says, don't open, and you don't, curling up with a book until dawn proves it's nothing. It's 50, and you're fishing 20 miles off Maine's coast, waves crashing 10 feet from the bow, and a swell feels off. Your gut says, head in, and you dock safe. It's not about running, it's about knowing, about claiming the part of you that's always been there, steady as a heartbeat, guiding you home. And that's the gift, isn't it? Not just safety, but strength. You're 33, hiking 30 miles into Zion, Utah sun blazing 50 miles from Vegas, and a canyon narrows. Your gut hums, turn back, and you do, finding a rattlesnake 20 feet ahead. You're 18, at a fair 5 miles from your Kansas hometown, and a ride operator's grin twists wrong. Your gut says skip it, and you hear later it broke down. Each time you grow, taller, surer, brighter. It's not fear driving you, it's faith. Faith in a voice that's yours alone, a compass no map can match. So honor it every day, every mile. You're 20, biking 3 miles through a Boston dusk, Charles River glinting 5 miles east, and a shadow moves 20 feet off. Trust it, speed up, get home. You're 48, in a meeting 10 miles from Houston's sprawl, and a deal stinks. Trust it, walk out, build your own. Start a ritual. Every week, tune in 5 minutes, quiet, just you and that voice. Ask it what's real, what's right, and listen. It's not loud, not flashy, but it's fierce. A fire that's burned since you were born, lighting the way through a country 3,000 miles wide and wild. And when you're old, 70 maybe, rocking 50 feet from a Georgia lake, kids splashing 20 miles from where you started, you'll look back, not at the dodges, not at the runs, but at the trust. The times you heard it, held it, lived it. That's the takeaway, the deep, beating heart of it. Your gut's your compass, and when it screams run, it's not just saving you, it's showing you who you are. So listen, always, and let it lead you home. There's a chill that settles in, isn't there, when you catch a stranger's gaze and it lingers just a beat too long? You're 24, pumping gas 50 miles outside Tulsa. The Oklahoma plains stretching flat and endless under a bruised sky, and a guy in a pickup 20 feet away stares, silent, still, his eyes like pins in the dusk. Or maybe you're 35, jogging 3 miles through a park in Charlotte, the skyline glinting 10 miles north, and a shadow moves 50 feet off the trail. Not a dog, not a deer, but a figure that doesn't wave back. These creepy tales we've been spinning, they've got that thread running through them. Strangers, the ones who turn a quiet moment into a question mark, who make you wonder what's behind the smile or the silence. They're not ghosts rattling chains in an attic 100 miles from nowhere. They're flesh and blood, real as the gravel under your boots, and that's what makes them stick. But here's the flip, the light that breaks through the shadow. Those same strangers teach you something bigger, something better. They're the push that sends you running, not away, but toward the people who matter, the ones who've got your back. This isn't just about fear, it's about finding your tribe, building it strong, and letting it lift you higher than any stranger's shadow can reach. Let me take you there, deep into what this means, why it's everything, and how it's the heartbeat of who we are. Picture yourself at 19, fresh off a summer job, cruising 30 miles down I-95 in Florida, the ocean crashing 5 miles east, salt in the air. You pull into a rest stop, neon flickering 50 feet above a cracked parking lot, and a guy in a hoodie leans against the vending machine, watching you lock your car. He doesn't move, doesn't speak, just stares, and your gut twists like a rope pulled tight. You duck inside, grab a soda, and when you come out, he's closer. 10 feet now, hands in his pockets, head tilted. You don't wait to find out why. You're back in your car, tires squealing, 60 miles an hour toward home. It's not the soda you remember, it's the chill, the way his shadow felt heavier than the humid night. That's the stranger's power, not a knife, not a shout, but a presence that turns the air thick and makes you feel alone even in a state 600 miles wide. And yeah, it's scary. Those tales of campsite stalkers 40 miles into Colorado woods, or fake uncles snatching kids 5 miles from school, they're real enough to keep you up, staring at the ceiling, wondering who's out there. But let's rewind, because it's not the stranger that defines you, it's what comes after. You're 27, crashing at a buddy's place 10 miles from downtown Phoenix, the desert sprawling 50 miles beyond the city glow. You're grilling burgers on a patio 20 feet from the house, laughing over a dumb joke, when a car rolls by, slow, windows down, a face you don't know peering out. It circles twice, 100 feet down the street, and your buddy notices too, his grin fading. You don't say much, just grab your phone, step inside, lock the door, but the weight's there, pressing on your chest. Later, over beers 5 feet from the TV, he slaps your shoulder and says, "We're good, man." And you are. That's the shift. The stranger's shadow fades when you're not alone, when there's someone 10 feet away who'd jump in if it went south. It's not just safety, it's a lifeline, a tether to something bigger than the dark. Because here's the truth, raw and real. America's a big, lonely place sometimes. You're 22, hauling a U-Haul 500 miles from Ohio to Texas, chasing a job, a dream, a fresh start. The highway's a ribbon of asphalt, cutting through cornfields and cattle ranches, and every gas station 50 miles apart feels like a test. Eyes on you, voices you don't know, strangers who could be anything. Or you're 40, in a condo 5 miles from Seattle's buzz, the Puget Sound shimmering 10 miles west, and the guy next door, 50 feet through the wall, keeps knocking at odd hours, asking for sugar, for a phone, for nothing that adds up. It's not the movies, it's life. 3,000 miles of it, where you can walk a street 500 feet long and feel like the only soul alive. Strangers don't just spook you, they remind you how vast it all is, how easy it is to drift if you let it. But that's where your tribe comes in, doesn't it? Think of it. You're 18, tailgating 5 miles from a Georgia Bulldogs game, the stadium roaring 10 miles south, the lots packed, grills smoking 20 feet apart, flags flapping 50 feet high, and a guy stumbles over, slurring, too close, too loud. You tense, but your cousin's there, 10 feet away, cracking a joke that pulls you back, and your high school buddy's got the cooler 5 feet behind, tossing you a water. The stranger fades, not because he's gone, but because you're not alone. That's your tribe, not a crowd, not a clique, but the ones who see you, who stand with you when the world tilts. They're the difference between a shiver in the dark and a laugh that echoes 100 miles. Let's stretch this out, because it's not just about dodging creeps, it's about building something unbreakable. You're 33, road tripping 200 miles up the California coast, Highway 1 curving 50 feet above the Pacific. You stop at a diner 10 miles from Big Sur, waves crashing 500 feet below, and a waitress lingers, too chatty, too curious, asking where you're headed, who's with you. Your gut hums, but your phone's buzzing. Your best friend 5 miles back texting, "You good?" You reply, "Yeah, meet me in 20." And when she rolls in, all freckles and loud laughs, the waitress drifts off. That's not just a meal, it's a fortress. It's you and her, a bond for over 10 years of late night calls and flat tires 50 miles from home, turning a stranger's edge into a footnote. And it's not always loud, not always obvious. You're 29, hiking 15 miles into the Adirondacks, New York's peaks rising 5 miles north, the trail quiet except for your boots on dirt. A guy appears 50 feet ahead, backpack, no map, asking for help, but his eyes don't match his words. You nod, point him 500 feet east and keep moving, but your phone's out, texting your sister 100 miles away. Weird dude on the trail. She pings back, "Call me when you're out," and that's it. Your tribe, a thread across states, a voice that steadies you when the woods feel too big. It's not a rescue, it's a reminder. You're never as alone as the stranger wants you to think. Because that's the trick, isn't it? Strangers thrive on your solitude. You're 21, at a concert, 10 miles from Denver, red rocks echoing 5 miles up the canyon, and a guy bumps you, hard, 20 feet from the stage, then grins, "Too close, too long." You're alone, crowd surging 50 feet wide, and he knows it, sees it in your stance. But imagine this, Your roommate's there, 10 feet left, elbowing through, yelling, "You okay?" The guy backs off, swallowed by the sea of bodies, and you're not just okay, you're untouchable. That's your tribe's magic. It's not size, it's strength, a wall no shadow can climb. So how do you build it? How do you turn strangers into a reason to lean closer? Start where you are. You're 25 in a bar 5 miles from Portland's bridges, the Willamette flowing 10 miles west. You've got your crew, 3 friends, 20 feet from the dartboard, laughing over IPAs. A guy slides in 50 feet from the door, pitching some scam, and you don't flinch. Your buddy's got a quip, your sister's got your arm, and he's gone. That's your base. Keep it tight. Keep it real. Or you're 45 in a suburb 10 miles from Minneapolis, kids biking 500 feet down the street. The neighbors knew 20 feet next door, asking too much. Your wife's there, 5 feet away, whispering, "He's weird," and you've got your shield. It's not numbers, it's trust, built over coffee runs 3 miles out or late night talks 50 feet from the TV. Take it bigger, because this is yours to grow. You're 30, hosting a bonfire, 15 miles from Austin's sprawl, flames licking 10 feet high. Your tribe's there, cousins, co-workers, that friend from 5th grade, 100 miles south, roasting s'mores 20 feet from the pit. A car slows 50 feet down the road, headlights probing, and you don't blink. Your brother's got a flashlight, your pal's got a laugh, and it rolls on. Make it a thing, tribe night, monthly, wherever you are. Backyard 5 miles from Philly, rooftop 10 miles from LA. Swap stories, your near miss 50 miles up I-95, their dodge of a creep 20 miles from home, and build it stronger. A circle no stranger can crack. And it's not just defense, it's life. You're 18, tailgating 5 miles from Tuscaloosa, Alabama heat thick 10 miles from Bryant-Denny. Your high school crew's there, grill smoking 20 feet out, radio blaring 50 feet up, and a drunk stumbles in, 100 feet from the lot, slurring nonsense. You don't scatter, you link arms, sing louder, and he's lost in the noise. Or you're 50 fishing 30 miles off Maine's coast, waves rocking 10 feet from the bow, and your son's there 5 feet starboard, reeling in a catch. A boat drifts close, 50 feet too close, and you don't flinch. He's got your 6, you've got his, and it's yours. That's the pulse. Your tribe's not just a shield, it's a song, a rhythm that drowns out the dark. Because here's the deep cut. America's built on this. You're 33 driving 200 miles through Montana, Big Sky stretching 50 miles wide, and a diner stop 10 miles from Bozeman brings a stranger 50 feet from your booth, too quiet, too near. Your phone's out, texting your wife 100 miles east, and she's there. Words on a screen, a tether across plains. It's our story. Pilgrims huddling 3,000 miles from home, at miners bunking 50 miles underground, families forging towns 500 feet from rivers. Strangers pushed us together, made us stronger, and you're in that line. 18 in a dorm 5 miles from Athens, 40 in a loft 10 miles from NYC, tribe tight, worldwide. And when it's hard, because it will be, hold on. You're 28 at a fair 15 miles from St. Louis, lights spinning 50 feet up, and a vendor's pushy. 20 feet from the booth, too close, your friend's gone. 100 feet off, and you're alone, gut sinking, tribe out of reach. But it's there, text her 5 miles away, and she's back, 10 feet close, pulling you free. Or you're 42, hiking 30 miles into the Tetons, Wyoming wind howling 50 miles from Jackson, and a hiker's lost, 20 feet off, begging for help, but off. Your brother's 5 miles back, radio crackling, and he's your anchor. It's not perfect, it's real, a bond that bends but never breaks. So build it, every day, every mile. You're 20, biking 3 miles through Boston, Charles glinting 5 miles east, and a shadow's 20 feet off. Text your roommate, 10 miles out, and ride on. You're 48, grilling 5 miles from Houston, smoke rising 50 feet up, and a neighbor's odd 50 feet next door. Call your kid 100 miles away, and laugh it off. Start a pact, tribe check weekly, whoever's 5 feet or 500 miles. You ping them. Keep them close. It's not loud, not showy, but it's fierce. A fire that burns through strangers' shadows, lighting your way. And when you're old, 70, rocking 50 feet from a Texas porch, stars blazing 100 miles wide, you'll see it. Not the creeps, not the close calls, but the tribe. The ones who stood 5 feet from your fears, who laughed 10 miles from your doubts, who built you up when the world felt too big. That's the core, the soul of it. Strangers can be monsters, sure, but your tribe's the miracle, the strength that turns dark into dawn. So hold them tight, always, and let them lift you home. There's a weight to being alone, isn't there? A heaviness that creeps in when the world pulls back and leaves you standing solo? You're 23, camping 50 miles deep in the Montana wilderness. The Bitterroot Mountains rising 10 miles north like silent sentinels, and the fire's dying, embers glowing 20 feet from your tent. The night's thick, stars sharp, but then you hear it. A snap, 50 feet into the trees, too heavy for a rabbit, too close for comfort. Your phone's dead, no bars 100 miles from a tower, and suddenly that vastness, that beauty, turns cold, pressing in like a stranger's breath. Or maybe you're 38, holed up in a cabin 15 miles from an Oregon coast town, the Pacific roaring 5 miles west, and a storm's rattling the windows, 50 feet above a cliff, while something scratches at the door, wind or worse. These creepy tales we've been spinning, they all carry that echo. Isolation doesn't just make you vulnerable. It amplifies everything, turns a whisper into a scream, a shadow into a shape you can't unsee. But here's the flip, the light that breaks through. You don't have to face it alone. Connection's the antidote, the lifeline, the fire that warms the dark. This isn't about hiding from the quiet. It's about chasing the voices that pull you back, the ones that make the world feel whole again. Let me take you there, deep into what this means, why it's everything, and how it's the soul of living loud in a land as big as ours. Picture yourself at 19, fresh off a breakup, driving 200 miles from Kansas City to a nowhere lake in Missouri, the Ozarks, sprawling 50 miles wide. You've got a fishing pole, a cooler, a plan to clear your head, 5 miles from the nearest gas station, 10 feet from the water's edge. The sun dips, painting the sky red, and it's perfect until it's not. A boat hums 100 feet offshore, too slow, too steady, circling like it's watching. Your line's still, your heart's not. And with no one 20 miles around, that solitude you crave twists into something else. A cage, a spotlight, a question with no answer. You pack up, drive back, 60 miles an hour toward lights, toward noise, toward anything but that empty shore. It's not the boat you remember. It's the silence, the way it swallowed you whole, left you smaller than you'd ever felt. That's isolation's trick. It's not just the absence of people, it's the absence of you. The way it strips your voice and leaves you drifting. Fast forward a few years. You're 27, crashing in a studio, 5 miles from downtown Austin, the city buzzing 10 miles wide. It's 2 a.m., rain drumming 50 feet above the roof, and a noise, sharp, 20 feet outside your window, cuts through the storm. A raccoon? A branch? You're alone, no roommate 100 miles away, no neighbor 5 feet through the wall, and your mind spins every creak a step, every gust a hand. You check the locks, pace 10 feet across the room, and wait for dawn, heart thumping like a bass line. Later, you call your brother 50 miles north in Waco and spill it, voice shaky. Man, you should have texted, and that's it. The weight lifts, not because it's funny, but because he's there. A thread across the plains, pulling you back from the edge. That's connection. Not a fix, but a tether, a reminder you're not lost. Because here's the raw truth. America's a big, lonely stretch sometimes. You're 22, hauling a backpack 500 miles from Ohio to Colorado, chasing mountains, freedom, a new start. The Rockies loom 50 miles west, but every diner 100 miles apart feels like a test. Tables empty, eyes distant, silence thick as fog 20 feet from your booth. Or you're 40, in a condo 5 miles from San Francisco's glow, the bay shimmering 10 miles north, and the walls 50 feet from the street echo with nothing but your footsteps. It's a country 3,000 miles wide where you can drive 200 miles through Nevada desert and see no one, or stand in a crowd 500 feet deep in Times Square and feel invisible. Isolation's not just a place, it's a state, a shadow that grows when you let it, turning a breeze into a howl, a stranger into a threat. But that's where connection flips it, doesn't it? Think of it. You're 18, tailgating 5 miles from a Clemson game, South Carolina heat, thick 10 miles from Death Valley. The lot's alive, grills smoking 20 feet apart, music blaring 50 feet high, and you're with your crew tossing a football 10 feet out. A truck rolls by slow 100 feet off, windows dark, and you tense, but your buddy's there, 5 feet away, cracking a joke, and your sister's got the playlist 20 feet back. The truck fades, not because it's gone, but because you're not alone. That's the magic. Connection doesn't erase the dark, it outshines it, turns a flicker into a flame, a moment into a memory. They're your people, the ones who see you when the world's too big, who make 50 miles feel like 5 feet. Let's stretch this out, because it's not just about safety, it's about living. You're 33, road tripping 300 miles up I-95, Virginia's pines flashing 50 feet from the asphalt. You stop at a diner 10 miles from Richmond, coffee steaming 5 feet from the counter, and a guy lingers 20 feet back, too quiet, too close. Your gut hums, but your phone's out. Your best friend, 100 miles south in Raleigh, texting, "How's the drive?" You reply, "Weird dude, call me." And when her voice crackles through 10 miles of static away, the guy drifts off. That's not just a call, it's a lifeline, a bond forged over 15 years of late night talks and flat tires, 50 miles from home, turning a stranger's weight into a shrug. It's you and her, a bridge across states, a laugh that says you're never as far as you feel. And it's not always loud, not always obvious. You're 29, hiking, 20 miles into the Sierra Nevada, California sun blazing, 50 miles from Tahoe. The trail's quiet, pine needles crunching 10 feet under your boots, and a rustle hits 50 feet off, too big for a squirrel. You're alone, no signal 100 miles from a tower, but your pack's got a note, your dad's scrawl, 5 miles from your Sacramento start. Call when you're back. You keep moving, steady, and when you hit camp 10 miles on, you dial him 50 miles away now, and his gruff, "Good job, kid," washes the quiet away. It's not a rescue, it's a thread, a voice that shrinks the wild, makes 20 miles feel like 20 feet. Connection's not size, it's strength, a whisper that holds when the silence presses. Because that's the trick, isn't it? Isolation feeds the dark. You're 21 at a concert 15 miles from Chicago, Soldier Field thumping 5 miles south, and the crowd surges. 500 feet wide, chaos 20 feet from the rail. A guy shoves hard 10 feet close, and you're alone, swallowed, no one to grab. But imagine this. Your roommate's there, 5 feet left, yelling, "Stay with me." The shove fades not because it stops, but because she's your anchor, pulling you through. Or you're 45, fishing 30 miles off Florida's Gulf, waves rocking 10 feet from the bow, and a boat drifts 50 feet too near, too still. Your son's there, 5 feet starboard, line taut, and you're not drifting. You're rooted, a team no shadow can sway. That's connection's pulse. It's not just presence, it's power, a wall the quiet can't breach. So how do you chase it? How do you turn alone into alive? Start small, because it's yours to build. You're 25, in a bar 5 miles from Nashville's honky tonks, neon glowing 50 feet up. Your crew's there, 3 friends 20 feet from the jukebox, and a stranger lingers 10 feet back, too pushy. You don't flinch, your buddy's got a laugh, your sister's got your chair, and he's gone. That's your base. Keep it close, keep it real. Or you're 40, in a suburb 10 miles from Denver, kids biking 500 feet out. The power's out, 50 feet from the grid, and a knock hits, odd, 20 feet from the door. Your wife's there, 5 feet away, whispering, "Wait," and you've got your shield. It's not numbers, it's trust, built over coffee runs 3 miles off or game nights 10 feet from the couch. Take it bigger, because this is yours to grow. You're 30, hosting a lantern night, 15 miles from Portland's bridges, glow swaying 10 feet above the yard. Your tribe's there, cousins, co-workers, that friend from college, 100 miles east, sharing stories, 20 feet from the fire. A car slows, 50 feet down the road, headlights probing, and you don't blink. Your sister's got a quip, your pal's got the logs, and it rolls on. Make it a thing. Connection night, monthly, wherever you are. Porch 5 miles from Atlanta, park 10 miles from Seattle. Swap tales, your storm scare 50 miles up I-5, their quiet wind 20 miles from home. And weave it tighter, a net no silence can pierce. And it's not just survival, it's joy. You're 18, camping 5 miles from a Michigan lake, stars blazing 10 miles wide. Your high school crew's there, tents pitched 20 feet apart, laughter echoing 50 feet up, and a rustle hits 100 feet off, too close. You don't scatter, you link voices, sing louder, and it's yours. A night, a bond, a light. Or you're 50, grilling 30 miles from Phoenix, smoke rising 10 feet from the pit, and your daughter's there, 5 feet left, flipping burgers. A coyote howls 50 feet out wild, and you're not rattled. She's your echo, you're hers, and it's home. That's the rhythm. Connection's not just a rope, it's a song, a beat that drowns the alone. Because here's the deep cut. America's made for this. You're 33 driving 200 miles through Texas, hill country rolling 50 miles wide, and a diner stop 10 miles from Austin brings a quiet 50 feet from your booth too still. Your phone's out, texting your mom 100 miles west, and she's there. Words on a screen, a tie across plains. It's our story. Settlers bunking 3,000 miles from shore. Ranchers huddling 50 miles from towns. Families forging lives 500 feet from rivers. Isolation tested us, connection saved us, and you're in that line. 18 in a dorm 5 miles from Madison. 40 in a loft 10 miles from LA. Tribe strong, world vast. There's a shiver that runs through you, isn't there? When the world drops a question you can't answer? You're 22, hiking 50 miles into the Wyoming wilderness, Grand Teton's jagged peaks looming 10 miles north, and the dusk settles, quiet, heavy, the kind that swallows sound. You're 20 feet from your tent, the fire's down to embers, and then it hits, a rustle, 50 feet into the pines, too big for a deer, too soft for a bear. Your flashlight sweeps the dark, catches nothing but shadows dancing 100 feet out, and your heart's a drum, pounding out a rhythm you can't name. Or maybe you're 35, alone in a cabin, 15 miles from a Maine coastal town. The Atlantic churning 5 miles east, and a creek echoes, 50 feet above in the attic, slow, deliberate, not the wind. These creepy tales we've been spinning, they thrive on that edge. The unknown, the big, wild, what if, that turns a moment into a maze. It's not the monster you see that gets you, it's the one you don't, the shape you can't pin down. But here's the twist, the spark that lights it up. That same mystery isn't just fear's fuel, it's your invitation, your chance to step in, not back, and dance with it. This isn't about running from the dark, it's about embracing it, letting it wake you up and finding the wonder in what you'll never fully know. Let me take you there, deep into what this means, why it's everything, and how it's the pulse of a life worth living. Picture yourself at 19, fresh off a summer gig, camping 30 miles from a Minnesota lake town. The Boundary Waters shimmering 5 miles north under a sky so clear it hurts. You're 10 feet from the shore, roasting hot dogs, the fire crackling 20 feet from your sleeping bag, and the night's perfect, until it's not. A howl cuts through. 50 feet across the water, sharp, not a wolf, not a dog, something else. Your buddy's asleep, 5 feet away, snoring through it, but you're wide awake, eyes straining 100 feet into the black, wondering what's out there. Is it close? 20 feet? 200? You don't know, and that's the hook. The unknown sinks its teeth in, turns like into a mirror for your racing mind, reflects every fear you've ever buried. You don't sleep, not really, because the mystery's alive, prowling 50 miles around you, and it's bigger than the night itself. Fast forward a few years, you're 28, crashing in a walk-up 5 miles from downtown Philly, the Schuylkill glinting 10 miles west. It's 3 a.m., city hum muted, 50 feet below your window, and a shadow flicks, 20 feet across the alley, quick, gone. A cat? A person? Your curtains sway, your pulse jumps, and you're up, peering 100 feet into the dark, seeing nothing but feeling everything. You don't call out, don't flip the lights, you wait, breath held, because the unknown's got you, spinning stories 10 miles wide in your head. A thief, a ghost, a trick of the light. Later you laugh it off, coffee in hand miles from the buzz. But it sticks, that shiver, that question you can't shake. It's not the answer that haunts you, it's the lack of one, the way it leaves you hanging, reaching, alive in the tension. Because here's the raw deal. The unknown's a beast and America's its playground. You're 25 driving 500 miles from Texas to Colorado, I-25 cutting through plains, 50 miles flat. A diner stop 10 miles from Rayton, neon buzzing 20 feet above brings a sound, a hum, 50 feet out, low, mechanical, not a car. UFO? Windmill? Your sandwich sits, your eyes dart 100 feet to the horizon and nothing shows. It's a country 3,000 miles wide, where you can hike 200 miles through Utah's canyons and hear whispers 50 feet off, wind, spirits, who knows. Or stand on a rooftop 5 miles from LA's sprawl, city lights blazing 10 miles south, and feel a chill 20 feet up, unexplained. The unknown doesn't need a script. It's the air here, thick with questions, wild with maybe. But that's where the dance begins, doesn't it? Think of it. You're 18, stargazing 5 miles from an Iowa cornfield, the Milky Way spilling 50 miles overhead. You're with your crew, blankets 10 feet out, laughs 20 feet wide, and a light streaks 50 feet up, fast gone. Meteor? Plane? Something else? You don't know, and your buddy's "whoa" echoes 100 feet around, but you don't shrink. You lean in, eyes wide, chasing the wonder. The unknown doesn't just scare, it calls, pulls you closer, dares you to guess. Or you're 40 fishing 30 miles off Georgia's coast, Atlantic rolling 10 feet from the bow, and a shape breaks, 50 feet out, dark, quick, not a fish, not a buoy. Your son's 5 feet starboard gasping, and you don't reel in. You watch, breath caught, because the mystery's a gift, a spark that lights you both up. Let's stretch this out, because it's not just about fear, it's about freedom. You're 32, road tripping 200 miles through Arizona, desert glowing 50 miles under a moonless sky. A gas station 10 miles from Flagstaff, pumps hissing 20 feet apart, brings a flicker. 50 feet off, a shape moves, low, silent. Coyote? Mirage? Your tank's filling, your mind's racing 100 feet ahead, but you don't bolt. You pause, squint, let it play. Nothing shows, and you drive on. 5 miles later, grinning at the wheel. That's the dance, not solving it, not naming it, but meeting it, stepping into the rhythm of what you'll never pin down. It's you, 10 feet from panic, choosing 10 feet of awe instead, a quiet rebellion against the need to know. And it's not always big, not always wild. You're 27, in a bar 5 miles from Nashville's neon, music thumping 50 feet up. A glass falls, 20 feet back, sharp, unexplained, and the crowd hushes 10 feet around, eyes darting 50 feet wide. Spill? Ghost? You don't know, and your buddy's "what the hell" hangs 100 feet in the air, but you sip your beer, smirk, let it ride. Or you're 45, gardening 10 miles from a Seattle suburb, Rainier looming 50 miles south, and a rustle hits. 20 feet from the fence, quick, gone. Bird? Neighbor? You don't chase, you kneel, dig, smile at the question. It's not the unknown that shifts you, it's your dance with it, the way you sway instead of stiffen, live instead of lock. Because that's the trick, isn't it? The unknown feeds fear when you fight it. You're 21, biking 15 miles through a Chicago dusk, Lake Michigan glinting 5 miles east, and a hum trails, 50 feet back, steady, not a car. Your legs burn, your mind screams, chase, escape, and you're alone, 10 miles from home, fear swelling 20 feet wide. But imagine this, you slow, glance, let it hum. 50 feet fades, 100 feet gone, and you're not running, you're riding, free in the not knowing. Or you're 38, camping 30 miles from a Utah canyon, stars blazing 50 miles up, and a cry cuts, 20 feet out, wild, sharp. You don't grab the knife, you listen, 5 feet from your tent, and it's yours, a piece of the night no fear can steal. That's the dance, not fleeing, not freezing, but flowing, a step into the mystery's arms. So how do you embrace it? How do you turn the unknown into your stage? Start small, because it's yours to claim. You're 23, in a diner 5 miles from a Texas highway, I-10 roaring 50 feet out. A jukebox skips 20 feet back, eerie unplugged, and you don't flinch. You nod, sip your coffee, let it hum 10 feet in your head. That's your base. Keep it loose, keep it real. Or you're 40 in a loft 10 miles from Boston's Glow, Charles Rippling 5 miles west. A tap hits, 50 feet up, attic odd, and you don't bolt. You climb 20 feet slow, flashlight steady, grinning at nothing. It's not answers, it's courage built over late night walks 3 miles out or porch sits 10 feet from the dark. Take it bigger, because this is yours to stretch. You're 30, hosting a mystery night, 15 miles from a Denver suburb, fire pit glowing 10 feet from the deck. Your crew's there, friends, kin, that dreamer from work 50 miles east, swapping tales 20 feet from the flames. A howl hits, 50 feet off, wild close, and you don't hush. You lean, guess 100 feet loud. Make it a thing, monthly wherever. Rooftop 5 miles from Miami, trail 10 miles from Asheville. Share it. Your Star Streak 50 miles up I-95, their attic creek 20 miles from home. And dance it bigger, a circle no question can dim. And it's not just thrill, it's life. You're 18, hiking 5 miles from a Montana ridge, big sky rolling 10 miles wide. Your crew's there, tents 20 feet out, voices 50 feet up, and a shadow flicks, 100 feet off, fast, gone. You don't shrink, you point, wonder, chase it 5 feet in your mind. Or you're 50, fishing 30 miles off Oregon's coast, Pacific crashing 10 feet from the stern, and a ripple breaks, 50 feet out, deep, strange. Your daughter's 5 feet port gasping, and you don't reel. You watch 20 feet of awe, a mystery you share. That's the beat. The unknown's not just a spark, it's a song, a rhythm that lifts when you let it. Because here's the deep cut. America's bred for this. You're 33, driving 200 miles through New Mexico, desert stretching 50 miles flat, and a light blinks 10 miles off, high, wrong. Your radio's static, 5 miles from a station, and it's there, 20 feet of maybe, 50 miles of myth. It's our tale. Explorers mapping 3,000 miles blind, sailors chasing 50 miles of fog, dreamers building 500 feet from stars. The unknown shaped us, dared us, and you're in that blood. 18 in a dorm 5 miles from Tucson, 40 in a loft 10 miles from Chicago, mystery wide, heart open. And when it's hard, because it will be, step in. You're 28 at a fair 15 miles from Boise, lights swirling 50 feet up, and a hum hits 20 feet back, low, odd. Your crew's split 100 miles off, and fear claws 5 miles of doubt, 10 feet of dark. But it's there. Breathe, sway, let it pass, 50 feet free. Or you're 42, hiking 30 miles into the Smokies, Tennessee mist thick 50 miles from Knoxville, and a cry fades 20 feet out, lost. Your phone's dead 5 miles from a bar, but you hum 10 feet steady, dancing alone. It's not easy, it's real, a waltz that bends but spins. So dance it, every day, every mile. You're 20, biking 3 miles through Austin, Colorado glinting 5 miles west, and a Russell's 50 feet off. Smile, pedal, let it sing 10 miles on. You're 48, grilling 5 miles from LA, smoke rising 50 feet up, and a flicker's 20 feet out. Nod, flip, share it, 100 miles wide. Start a pact, mystery check, weekly, solo or near, 5 feet or 500 miles. You chase it, live it loud. It's not loud, not brash, but it's fierce, a flame that burns through fear's fog, lighting your way. And when you're old, 70, rocking 50 feet from a Carolina shore, waves crashing 100 miles deep, you'll see it. Not the questions, not the shadows, but the dance. The times you stepped 5 feet into the dark, laughed 10 miles through the maybe, lived 20 feet beyond the known. That's the core, the soul of it. The unknown fuels fear, sure, but it's your stage, a wonder that turns night into fire. So take it always and let it move you home. There's a moment, isn't there, when the world tilts and time slows and you've got seconds, maybe less to decide? You're 24, driving 50 miles down a deserted stretch of I-80 in Nebraska, the plains stretching 10 miles flat under a sky heavy with dusk, and your tire blows, rubber shredding 20 feet behind you, car swerving 50 feet from the shoulder. No signal, no cars, 100 miles from a town, and the silence presses in, cold and vast. Or maybe you're 37, hiking 15 miles into the Cascades, Washington rain soaking 5 miles west of a ridge, and a branch snaps 50 feet ahead, too loud, too close, a bear or worse. These creepy tales we've been spinning, they're stitched with those heartbeats. Survival's not a slow burn. It's a flash, a spark, and it's on you to think fast, act faster. But here's the flip, the fire that lights it up. Those split-second calls don't just save you, they shape you. Tap into a grit you didn't know you had, an ingenuity that's pure American, pure you. This isn't about waiting for rescue. It's about unleashing your inner MacGyver, that scrappy, quick-witted hero who turns duct tape and a prayer into a way out. Let me take you there, deep into what this means, why it's everything, and how it's the pulse of a life that doesn't just endure, but thrives. Picture yourself at 19, fresh off a summer job, biking 30 miles from a small Iowa town, cornfields swaying 5 miles wide under a July sun that's relentless. You're 10 feet from a creek, tires humming, when a car roars, 50 feet back, too fast, too close, engine growling, 20 feet nearer every breath. Your phone's in your pocket, your legs burn, but there's no one. 100 miles of flat, no help, and your mind kicks in. Swerve, 5 feet left, ditch the bike, roll 20 feet into the stalks. You do it, heart slamming, dust choking, and the car screeches past, 50 feet gone, a blur of metal and menace. You're scraped, shaking, 5 miles from home, but alive, grinning through the sting because you didn't freeze, you thought, you moved, you won. That's the spark, not the crash you dodged, but the flash of you, sharp and sure, pulling yourself through when the clock was ticking. Fast forward a few years. You're 26, crashing in a trailer 5 miles from a Georgia swamp, humidity thick 10 miles south of Savannah. It's midnight, crickets screaming 50 feet out, and the power cuts 20 feet from the breaker, dark, swallowing, 100 feet wide. A thud hits 50 feet from the door, heavy, not a branch, and your flashlight's dead, your phone's at 2%. You don't panic, you grab a broom 5 feet away, wedge it 10 feet under the knob, pile chairs 20 feet high against it, and wait, breath shallow, ears sharp. Dawn breaks, 5 miles of light, and it's nothing, a raccoon maybe, but you're standing steady because you didn't sit still. You rigged it, held it, owned it. That's not just a night, it's a badge, a quiet roar of your own making, proof you've got a MacGyver in you, ready to roll. Because here's the raw truth. America's a land of quick fixes, isn't it? You're 22, hauling a U-Haul, 500 miles from Ohio to Texas. I-35 cutting 50 miles through plains, and the engine sputters. 10 miles from a station, smoke curling 20 feet up. No tow, no bars, 100 miles of dust, and you're under the hood. 5 feet of grease, a wrench from the glove box, tightening 10 feet of hose till it holds. You roll on 50 miles steady, a grin breaking 5 miles wide. Or you're 40, in a condo 5 miles from Denver's glow. Rockies looming, 10 miles west, and a storm floods, 50 feet from the street, water rising 20 feet fast. You don't wait. You stack books, 5 feet high, seal cracks 10 feet tight with tape, and it holds in feet of dry. It's a country 3,000 miles vast, where pioneers rigged wagons 50 miles from rivers, farmers patch barns 20 feet from storms. Quick thinking's our blood, and you're pumping it. But that's where it ignites, doesn't it? Think of it. You're 18, tailgating 5 miles from an LSU game, Baton Rouge buzzing 10 miles south. The lot's chaos, grills smoking 20 feet out, cheers 50 feet loud, and your cooler tips 10 feet from the truck, ice spilling 5 feet wide. A drunk stumbles, 20 feet close, slurring handsy, and you don't blink. You grab a tarp, 5 feet back, drape it 10 feet fast, trip him 50 feet away with a laugh. Your crew's roaring, 100 feet around, and you're not just safe, you're king, sharp in the scrum. Or you're 45 fishing 30 miles off Florida's Gulf, waves crashing 10 feet from the bow, and your line snaps, 50 feet out, real jammed. Your son's 5 feet starboard, wide-eyed, and you don't curse. You knot it 20 feet quick, bait it 5 feet sharp, and cast 100 feet of fish. That's the rush, not the fix, but the fire. The you that flares when it's now or never. Let's stretch this out because it's not just about dodging, it's about daring. You're 31, road tripping 200 miles up I-95, Virginia's pines flashing 50 feet from the lane. A deer bolts 10 miles north, 20 feet ahead, eyes glinting 5 feet from impact, and your hands twist, 50 feet swerve, brakes slam 100 feet hard. You skid, what, and stop, 20 feet from a ditch, alive, shaking, laughing 10 feet loud. That's not just luck, it's you, wired fast, threading 50 miles of needle when the world blinked. Or you're 27, camping 15 miles from a Utah canyon, stars blazing 50 miles up and a rock slides, 20 feet off loud close. You don't run, you grab a stick 5 feet long, prop it 10 feet under the tent flap, brace 50 feet set and wait. 100 feet of calm. It's nothing, wind 5 miles later, but it's yours, a win you built when the clock was 0. And it's not always loud, not always wild. You're 29 in a bar 5 miles from Chicago's Loop, jazz humming 50 feet up. A guy bumps 20 feet back and your drink spills 10 feet wide, glass cracking 5 feet down. You don't swing, you slide a coaster 50 feet quick, trap it 20 feet tight, sidestep 100 feet smooth. Your buddy's grinning, 5 miles of pride, and you're not just dry, you're slick, sharp in the small. Or you're 42, gardening 10 miles from a Portland suburb, Columbia flowing 5 miles east, and a hose bursts, 50 feet out, mud spraying 20 feet fast. You don't yell, you pinch it, 10 feet firm, tie it 5 feet tight with twine and water, 100 feet of green. It's not the fix that hums, it's the flash, the you that jumps when it's go time. Because that's the trick, isn't it? Survival's a snap when you freeze, it's a spark when you flare. You're 21, biking 15 miles through a Texas dusk, hill country rolling, 5 miles west, and a truck tails, 50 feet back, headlights glaring, 20 feet close. Your legs scream, 10 miles from home, fear clawing 5 feet deep, but you don't lock, you weave, 50 feet sharp, cut 20 feet through a lot, lose it 100 feet free. That's not flight, it's fight. Fast and fierce. A MacGyver move you didn't rehearse. Or you're 38, hiking 30 miles into the Adirondacks, New York's peaks rising 50 miles north, and a stream swells 20 feet wide, boots sinking 5 feet fast. You don't wade, you lash a branch 10 feet long, bridge it 50 feet steady, cross 100 feet dry. That's the beat. Not the save, but the snap. The you that bends the world when it bends you. So how do you unleash it? How do you turn quick into yours? Start small, because it's there, waiting. You're 23 in a diner, 5 miles from a Missouri highway, I-70 humming 50 feet out. Your car keys drop 20 feet under the booth, dark stuck, and you don't wait. You fish a straw 10 feet bent, hook it 5 feet fast, pull 50 feet free. That's your base. Keep it nimble, keep it real. Or you're 40 in a loft, 10 miles from LA's sprawl, Hollywood glinting 5 miles north. A pipe leaks 50 feet up, ceiling dripping 20 feet slow, and you don't call. You tape it 10 feet tight, prop a bucket 5 feet quick, hold 100 feet dry. It's not skills, it's spirit, built over flat tires 3 miles out or spills 10 feet from the sink. Take it bigger, because this is yours to grow. You're 30, hosting a MacGyver night 15 miles from a Nashville suburb, fire pit crackling 10 feet from the porch. Your crew's there, friends kin that gearhead from work 50 miles west, swapping fixes 20 feet from the glow. A storm brews 50 feet off, wind howling 100 feet loud, and you don't hunker. You rig a tarp 5 feet fast, stake it 10 feet firm, laugh 20 feet dry. Make it a thing, monthly, wherever. Garage 5 miles from Miami, park 10 miles from Seattle. Share it. Your tire patch 50 miles up I-75, their flood dodge 20 miles from home, and spark it sharper, a crew no jam can stump. And it's not just grit, it's glory. You're 18, camping 5 miles from a Michigan bluff, Superior crashing 10 miles north. Your tent rips 20 feet wide, rain pooling 50 feet fast, and your crew's there, 5 feet out, groaning 10 feet loud. You don't sulk, you lace it, 20 feet quick, patch it 5 feet tight with tape, sleep 50 feet dry, a win, 100 feet of cheers. Or you're 50, grilling 30 miles from a Phoenix Ridge, smoke rising 10 feet up, and the gas cuts 50 feet from the tank, meat raw 5 feet out. Your daughter's 20 feet left, starving, and you don't quit. You spark a stick 10 feet hot, roasted 5 feet slow, feast 100 feet full. That's the thrill, not the save, but the snap, the you that shines when it's tight. Because here's the deep cut. America's bred this. You're 33, driving 200 miles through Kansas, planes stretching 50 miles flat, and a twister spins 10 miles off, dust swirling 20 feet high. Your radio's out 5 miles from a ditch and you don't stall. You floor it 50 feet sharp, cut 100 feet east, clear 20 miles free. It's our tale. Cowboys roping 3,000 miles of wild, mechanics rigging 50 miles from shops, kids biking 500 feet from wrecks. Quick thinking built us, braced us, and you're in that vein. 18 in a dorm 5 miles from Boulder, 40 in a loft 10 miles from NYC, grit wide, hands fast. And when it's hard, because it will be, dig in. You're 28 at a fair 15 miles from Tulsa, rides whirling 50 feet up and a gate jams, 20 feet back, crowd shoving 5 feet tight. Your crew split 100 miles off and panic claws, 10 feet of crush, 50 feet of trap. But it's there. Pivot 5 feet quick, lift 20 feet hard, slip 100 feet free. Or you're 42, hiking 30 miles into the Sierra, California sun blazing 50 miles from Reno, and a cliff crumbles 20 feet down, rocks rolling 5 feet fast. Your pack's 10 feet back alone, but you lunge 50 feet sharp, cling 100 feet safe. It's not smooth, it's real, a snap that bends but wins. So unleash it every day, every mile. You're 20, biking 3 miles through Atlanta, Peachtree glinting 5 miles east, and a chain snaps 50 feet out, gears grinding 20 feet loud. Flip it 5 feet fast, walk it 10 miles proud. You're 48, grilling 5 miles from Houston, smoke curling 50 feet up, and a flare jumps 20 feet high, coals spilling 5 feet wide. Smother it 10 feet quick, save it 100 feet hot. Start a pact, MacGyver check, weekly, solo or near, 5 feet or 500 miles. You fix it, own it fierce. It's not loud, not brash, but it's fire. A blaze that burns through tight spots, lighting your way. And when you're old, 70, rocking 50 feet from a Carolina porch, fields stretching 100 miles deep, you'll feel it. Not the jams, not the jolts, but the jumps. The times you rigged 5 feet from doom, laughed 10 miles through the mess, lived 20 feet past the edge. That's the core, the soul of it. Survival takes quick thinking. Sure, but it's your MacGyver, a spark that turns now into forever. So grab it always and let it blaze you home. There's a mark that lingers, isn't there? A shadow that doesn't wash away with time? You're 23, camping 50 miles deep in the Colorado Rockies, the Sangre de Cristos towering 10 miles north, and the night's crisp, fire crackling 20 feet from your tent, stars spilling 50 miles overhead. Then it comes, a thud, 100 feet into the dark, a voice humming 20 feet closer, low and wrong. You're alone, 5 miles from a road, and it's not just fear, it's a cut, sharp and deep, that stays when the sun rises and the woods go quiet. Or maybe you're 36, holed up in an apartment 5 miles from a Chicago suburb, Lake Michigan glinting 10 miles east, and a knock rattles 50 feet from the hall. No one you know. These creepy tales we've been spinning, they're etched with those moments. Scars that don't fade, not because they bleed, but because they build you, break you, bury themselves in your bones. But here's the turn, the light that breaks through. Those same scars aren't chains, they're chisels, carving you stronger, sharper, brighter. This isn't about forgetting the pain, it's about turning it into power, a fire that fuels you when the world tries to pull you back. Let me take you there, deep into what this means, why it's everything, and how it's the soul of a life that rises, not just survives. Picture yourself at 18, fresh off high school, biking 30 miles from a small Ohio town. The Cuyahoga River winding 5 miles west under a sky thick with summer. You're 10 feet from a bridge, wind in your hair, when a car swerves. 50 feet back, tires screeching 20 feet close, a drunk's laugh cutting 5 miles through the dusk. You dive, 5 feet into gravel, skin tearing 10 feet down, and it's gone, 50 feet past, a blur of metal and menace. You limp home 100 feet of blood and grit, and it's not the scrapes that stick. It's the shake, the way your chest caves 5 miles later, alone in your room, wondering why. That's the scar, not the skin but the soul. A jagged line that wakes you 10 years on, 50 miles from that bridge, heart thumping at a horn in the night. It doesn't fade. Not really, because it's not a wound. It's a witness, a piece of you that saw the edge and stayed. Fast forward a few years. You're 27, crashing in a rental 5 miles from a Phoenix sprawl, desert glowing 10 miles south under a moon that's too bright. It's 1 a.m., heat clinging 50 feet above the roof, and a shadow flicks 20 feet from your window, tall, still. You're alone, 100 miles from kin, and your phone's dead. 5 feet from the charger, useless. You don't scream. You freeze, breath shallow, eyes locked, 50 feet out till it's gone. 10 miles of dawn, proving it's nothing, a trick of the light. But it's not nothing. Not 5 years later, 50 miles north in Tucson, when a creek 20 feet down the hall pulls you bolt upright, sweat cold, memory sharp. That's the scar. Not the shadow, but the silence, the way it sank 10 feet into your chest and stayed. A quiet ache that whispers 100 miles through your days. Because here's the raw truth. America's a land of scars, isn't it? You're 21, hauling a backpack 500 miles from Georgia to Maine, the Appalachian Trail twisting 50 miles through peaks. A storm hits 10 miles from a shelter, rain slashing 20 feet wide, thunder cracking 5 miles close, and you slip 50 feet down a slope, ankle twisting 10 feet deep. You crawl 100 feet of mud and will, and make it 5 miles of pain, a limp that lasts. Or you're 40 in a house 5 miles from a Seattle suburb, sound shimmering 10 miles west, and a break in scars 50 feet from your door, glass shattered 20 feet in, nothing taken but peace. It's a country 3,000 miles wide, where you can drive 200 miles through Kansas storms and carry the lightning 50 miles on. Or stand in a city 500 feet deep and feel a theft 10 feet away for years. Scars don't fade here. They root, grow, mark us like maps. But that's where the power rises, doesn't it? Think of it. You're 19, tailgating 5 miles from an Alabama game, Tuscaloosa buzzing 10 miles south. The lot's alive, grills smoking 20 feet out, cheers 50 feet high, and a fight flares. 10 feet close, fists flying 5 feet from your truck. You're shoved 20 feet back, head ringing 50 feet loud. And it's not the bruise that stays, it's the flinch. 500 feet of inch later, 50 miles away at a bar when a glass drops. But you don't shrink. You stand 5 feet taller, 10 miles surer, because that scar's not shame, it's steel, a forge that hardened you when the heat hit. Or you're 45, fishing 30 miles off a Carolina coast, Atlantic rolling 10 feet from the bow, and a swell flips, 50 feet out, boat rocking 20 feet hard. You cling 5 feet from sinking and swim 100 feet of salt and fight, and it's not the cold that lingers, it's the grit. 5 miles of pride, 10 years on, a scar that lifts you when the waves whisper. Let's stretch this out because it's not just about enduring, it's about owning. You're 32, road tripping 200 miles up I-90, Montana's plains glowing 50 miles under a dusk that's endless. A tire blows, 10 miles from a town, rubber shredding 20 feet back. Dark closing 5 miles fast, and you're alone, 50 feet from help, 100 miles of quiet. You don't wait, you jack it, 5 feet quick, patch it 10 feet rough, roll 20 miles shaky, and it holds, 50 feet of sweat and grin. That's not just a fix, it's a scar. A jolt 5 years later, 10 miles from a gas station when a clank hits, and you're steady, 100 feet of know-how from that night. It's you, 20 feet from panic, turning 50 miles of pain into 5 feet of power, a mark that doesn't fade but fuels. And it's not always loud, not always wild. You're 28 in a diner 5 miles from a Texas highway, I-35 humming 50 feet out. A guy stares 20 feet back, cold, wrong, and you're alone, 10 feet from the door, heart thumping 5 miles deep. You don't run, you pay, 50 feet calm, walk 20 feet tall, drive 100 feet free, but it's there, 5 years on, 10 miles north, when a shadow flicks, 50 feet of echo pulling you tight. You don't flinch, you breathe. 5 feet deeper, 20 miles stronger, because that scar's not fear, it's fire. A quiet burn that steadies you when the dark creeps. Or you're 42, gardening 10 miles from a Portland ridge, Columbia flowing 5 miles east, and a dog lunges 50 feet out, teeth bared 20 feet close. You dodge 10 feet fast, fence it 5 feet firm, and it's gone. 100 feet of peace, but it's not. 5 miles later, 50 feet of shake when a bark hits. You don't hide, you plant. 20 feet bold, 10 miles proud. A scar that roots you deeper. Because that's the trick, isn't it? Scars stick when you fight them. You're 21, biking 15 miles through a Florida dusk, Gulf glinting 5 miles west, and a wave crashes 50 feet out, tide pulling 20 feet hard. You're swept 10 miles from shore, thrashing 5 feet deep, fear clawing 50 miles wide, and you swim 20 feet of fight, 100 feet of shore. But it's not the water that haunts. It's the gasp, 5 years on, 10 miles inland when rain taps. But you don't drown, you rise. 50 feet tougher, 20 miles braver. Because that scar's not weight, it's wings, a lift you earn when you stop running. Or you're 38, hiking 30 miles into the Sierra, California sun blazing 50 miles from Tahoe, and a cliff looms 20 feet up, rope fraying 5 feet thin. You climb 10 feet slip, catch 50 feet of heart, 100 feet of peak, and it's not the fall that stays, it's the tremble, 5 miles later, 20 feet from a ledge. You don't retreat, you step 10 miles fiercer, 50 feet free, a scar that pulls you up. So how do you turn it? How do you make pain your power? Start small, because it's yours to shape. You're 23, in a bar 5 miles from a Memphis sprawl, blues thumping 50 feet up. A drunk shoves 20 feet close, beer spilling 10 feet wide, and you're rattled. 5 miles of shake 50 feet home. Don't bury it, build. 5 feet of story, 20 miles of steel. A tale 10 years on, 100 feet of laugh. That's your base. Keep it real, keep it yours. Or you're 40, in a loft 10 miles from a Boston glow, Charles rippling 5 miles east. A break in scars, 50 feet from your bed, lock snap 20 feet in, and it's there, 5 years later, 10 miles out when a key turns. Don't lock it. Lift 5 feet of locks, 50 miles of grit, a strength 20 feet tall, 100 feet wide. It's not erasure. It's embrace, built over tears, 5 miles deep, or nights 10 feet long. Take it bigger, because this is yours to grow. You're 30, hosting a scar night, 15 miles from a Denver ridge, fire pit glowing 10 feet from the deck. Your crew's there, friends, kin, that dreamer from 50 miles west, swapping marks 20 feet from the flames. A storm scarred you, 50 feet of wind, 100 feet of dark, and you don't hush, you share. Stew 5 feet raw, 10 miles proud, spark 20 feet bright. Make it a thing, monthly, wherever, porch 5 miles from Miami, park 10 miles from Seattle. Trade it, your crash 50 miles up I-95, their theft 20 miles from home, and forge it stronger. A tribe 100 feet of scars, 5 miles of power. And it's not just strength, it's light. You're 18, camping 5 miles from a Michigan bluff, Superior crashing 10 miles north. A bear prowls 20 feet out, growl shaking 50 feet wide, and you're still 5 feet from panic. 10 miles of cold, 5 years on. You don't shrink, you shine. 20 feet of tail, 50 miles of glow, a kid 100 feet awed 10 years later. Or you're 50, grilling 30 miles from a Phoenix sprawl, smoke rising 10 feet up and a fire flared 50 feet high, burn scarring 20 feet deep. It's there 5 miles on, 10 feet from a spark, but you don't dim, you cook. 5 feet bold, 50 miles warm, a feast 100 feet shared. That's the flame, not the pain, but the power, the you that blooms when it's burned. Because here's the deep cut. America's carved this. You're 33, driving 200 miles through Texas, plane stretching 50 miles flat, and a flood hits 10 miles off, water rising 20 feet fast. You're trapped 5 miles from a bridge, and you climb 50 feet of roof, 100 feet of weight, a scar 5 years on, 10 miles from rain. It's our tale. Settlers crossing 3,000 miles of flood, miners clawing 50 miles from caves, families rising 500 feet from ash. Pain marked us, powered us, and you're in that vein. 18 in a dorm 5 miles from Athens, 40 in a loft 10 miles from LA, scars wide, will fierce. And when it's hard, because it will be, hold it. You're 28 at a fair 15 miles from Tulsa, lights spinning 50 feet up, and a ride jams 20 feet high, sway creaking 5 feet tight. You're stuck, 10 miles of dread, 50 feet down, but you breathe, 5 feet calm, 20 miles sure, free, 100 feet strong. Or you're 42, hiking 30 miles into the Smokies, mist thick 50 miles from Asheville, and a fall scars, 20 feet down, leg bent, 5 feet wrong. It's there, 5 miles on, 10 feet of limp, but you walk 50 feet tall, 100 miles proud. It's not soft, it's real, a pain that bends but builds. So turn it every day, every mile. You're 20, biking 3 miles through a Philly dusk, Delaware glinting 5 miles east, and a dog snaps, 50 feet out, teeth bared 20 feet close. It's there, 5 years on, 10 miles from a bark, but you ride, 5 feet bold, 50 miles free. You're 48, grilling 5 miles from a Houston sprawl, smoke curling 50 feet up and a burn scars, 20 feet red, 5 miles of sting. But you cook, 10 feet warm, 100 feet full. Starter packed, scar check, weekly, solo or near, 5 feet or 500 miles, you shape it, lift it fierce. It's not loud, not brash, but it's fire. A blaze that burns through pain's weight, lighting your way. And when you're old, 70, rocking 50 feet from a Georgia lake, waves lapping 100 miles deep, you'll see it. Not the cuts, not the cracks, but the climb. The times you turned 5 feet of hurt into 10 miles of heart, 20 feet of fear into 50 miles of flight, 100 feet of dark into 5 miles of dawn. That's the core, the soul of it. Some scars don't fade, sure, but they're your power, a strength that turns yesterday into forever. So hold them always and let them raise you home. Throughout this journey, our protagonist faced a multitude of challenges, moments that could have broken them, but instead, they chose to turn each struggle into a lesson, each scar into a source of strength. From the quiet terror of an unknown shadow in the night to the physical and emotional bruises left by the harsh realities of life, these moments were not just obstacles, they were defining experiences. In the Colorado Rockies, alone in the dark with only the sound of a bear's growl as their company, the protagonist felt a surge of fear, a fear that could have paralyzed anyone. But instead of running, they stood, faced the unknown, and emerged stronger. Years later, when a mere shadow flickered in their peripheral vision, it was not the fear that overcame them, but the memory of standing strong when everything felt uncertain. Each scar left its mark, not as something to be ashamed of, but as a reminder of survival, of Yoon. Through all the ups and downs, the protagonist's path was a journey of transformation. They encountered hardships that stretched them physically, emotionally, and mentally, but they didn't let those experiences define them negatively. Instead, they allowed these challenges to mold them into someone who could withstand more, stand taller, and shine brighter. Whether it was overcoming the panic of a tense situation at a fair or navigating a broken tire miles from help, they learned that the only way forward is to face life head on with grit and grace. The deep lesson from this story is that pain is not something to run from, it is something to embrace. We all face hardships, whether big or small, that leave marks on us. But rather than viewing these experiences as scars to be hidden or feared, we should see them as badges of honor. They are proof of our resilience and our ability to rise above the challenges life throws at us. Each scar, emotional or physical, is a reminder of the strength we carry. This story teaches us that when we face adversity, we can either let monk. We should strive to build a life where we take every hit, every setback, and turn it into something that makes us stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. And most importantly, we must realize that we control how we respond to challenges. We are not victims of In our day-to-day lives, we often face obstacles, whether in our careers, relationships, or personal goals. The story of our protagonist is a reminder that we don't need to be afraid of challenges. Life is full of them, but is also full of opportunities to rise. Instead of shrinking from pain, we should ask ourselves, how can I use this experience to grow? The next time you're confronted with a difficulty, instead of retreating, stand tall, breathe, and find the lesson in it. Whether you're fighting through a tough situation at work, pushing through personal struggles, or facing health challenges, remember that every hardship holds the potential to shape you into a stronger, more resilient person. If you've been inspired by this journey, if you found yourself reflecting on your own scars and triumphs, please consider subscribing to the channel. Your support motivates me to keep creating meaningful content that can help us all grow together. Together, we'll continue to embrace life's challenges and turn them into something beautiful. Thank you for being part of this journey, and I look forward to sharing more with you in the next video. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share the love with others who might need this message too.